I'm a doer, if you push and push and push and push and push and try and try and try and try, things can actually work out. And you can actually change something. Since I was very little, I loved reading, and I also loved writing. I remember I wrote my first story when I was in the first grade. It got 5, which means A. And I was so happy. There were even publications when children from different young correspondence club in the country, they were asking, what shall we do in this situation, or what shall we do in that situation, because adults are not taking us seriously. I was 13, 14 years old. All my energy was directed into observing how society is run from my perspective as a young member of this society. Hemingway, I read all his books, the short stories, the novels. He was living in Africa, he was living in all those interesting places, and he spoke so many languages, he knew so many cultures, he participated in national struggles of people. He was actually someone that I admired and I strived to emulate. I really wanted to be like him. 1995, I joined the United Nations Scientific, Cultural, and Educational Organization, headquartered in Paris. I worked in Iraq, China, then South Korea, and Mongolia. I began working in Costa Rica around 2010. I was set on a mission to give voice to the voiceless, but also help different sides to understand each other. I wanted to work with indigenous, however, they are not easily accessible. They live in remote areas and they don't want to do anything with the majority. My first meeting with them, it was actually very interesting. The Naba women, they're sitting and they're like, what does she want? A Kazakh woman coming to talk to them. And I'm like, well, guys, let's drink tea, let's drink coffee, let's just talk. I know nothing about you guys, so can you please tell me, what is the difference between Nabe and Bugle? And then they started telling me the stories, etc. And I would be joking back. I was like, so the difference between Nabe and Bugle women is the same as between French and Italians. Some small differences in language. And they're like, she's comparing us to French and Italian. So we were laughing. It was a nice icebreaker. In the evenings, the Naba women come into my room and they were telling me their life stories. For the most of them, those were very sad life stories. And what came up very often, basically in every story, is that they all got married very young. And some married very, very young. For example, Doña Carmen, she married when she was 12. Her mother married when she was 12. And one of her daughters also was proposed when she was 12. As soon as the girl reaches her puberty, she has her first period, she becomes eligible for marriage. It struck me. Doña Carmen is a matriarch of this Nabe tribe in this particular area. She wants to preserve traditions of the tribe. The tribe's culture is very, very important to her. But she understands that there are some powerful men with a lot of money, with lots of influence, and they just want to use tradition as an excuse to marry very, very, very young girls. While everywhere in the world it would be considered a pedophilia, there it is considered, that's a tradition. if you study the traditions of indigenous in Costa Rica, in Central America in general, you will find out that the marriage age pre-conquistador was 17, 18, like everywhere in the world. But then conquistadors came, and there was this massive abuse and rape of indigenous women. And so, not to lose their girls to conquistadors, they started marrying them as soon as they reached puberty, the indigenous men. So this is how this tradition was born. But nowadays, there are no conquistadors. There is no need for that anymore. For me, it was a shock, and I felt that I should address it. My rationale was that, well, images speak louder than words, so why don't we just show the issue and then show different perspective on this issue. And then I told them, why don't we make a movie together? And they were like, yeah, let's make a movie together. When I wrote the script and I brought it to them, I realized that they don't know how to read. So, like, everything was explained like this, and every morning we were like, okay, like, vamos a practicar, like, let's practice. So we would rehearse the scene, and it was like practicar. Eileen, the girl who plays Esmeralda in Defenders of Life, she's a granddaughter of Doña Carmen. Imagining that a girl at this age would have to marry a much older man, it's just not fair to girls.
Usted no va a sufrir, usted no va a pasar nada, te va a ir conquistando y para que vivimos bien, toda la salud.
I just remembered myself when I was a kid. When I was 12 or when I was 13. And I was just like, no way, like, I would even consider marriage. I mean, I didn't even have a boyfriend or anything. I was just on my own. After the government of Costa Rica saw the movie, they invited indigenous to the table. And it was the first time when indigenous tribe Nabe went to Costa Rica and they had a full-fledged negotiations with the government. And it was a very good discussion because after that the government issued a law that banned underage marriages and forced union with minors. And indigenous were on board with that. Carmen is pretty content with her life. And I think the movie is one of the greatest gifts that she could get in her life. We did this movie together. She sees it as a legacy, and she's very proud of it.